Welcome to episode 35 of Beer with Strangers. I'm your host, Tony Russo, and I'm joined this week, as I'm joined each week, by Doug Griffith.
Good afternoon, Tony, and thanks for coming again. And we'll give our normal outside weather report. Been sunny all day. Wonderful, wonderful day. So we need more like this.
It's been a gorgeous fall, yeah. And you really feel like we're going to get clobbered because we had a gorgeous
and
fall.
Unfortunately, it may happen Saturday and Sunday at the Beer Festival. So I hope not, but they're calling for rain sometime soon.
Yeah, I hope that we don't get washed out. But let's start right up there with the Good Beer Festival. So Good Feet Beer Festival. Start with announcements. If you care to join us, please do. We've got the questions and answers are now enabled. So if you want to ask something, say something, tell something, just type it in there and we'll respond. And you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, all of those things. Make comments in the comment box. And if you have a brewery that you want to have on here, if you have someone you'd like to see us interview, let us know and we'll try and do that. We're going to try to start having guests really within the next month. We hope to have guests almost every week. But until then, you're going to have to just put up with us. So the Good Beer Festival is this weekend. And you did a commercial. I shot the commercial.
Yep. Interviewed by Andy. So that was last week. And you said it was on Pack 14, which unfortunately, I don't get. So I didn't say it. But we'll look at it on YouTube later after this is over.
Yeah.
But yes, we'll be at the Good Beer Festival. We'll be serving beer as well as a cider, both Saturday and Sunday. We've got a lot of the local breweries set up for discussion talks on Saturday and Sunday. So you should come out and enjoy all the festivities as well as the good beer at the Good Beer Festival and come try some of ours.
Yeah, and what's kind of neat is that there's that the homebrews are kind of set aside, you said, for tax reasons.
Yeah, special permit, untaxed area.
And what's funny is that the beer there is just getting better and better and better. I mean, people just take this stuff really seriously. And this year, the homebrewers are allowed to do more than because in the past you haven't had homebrewers there. You've had, you've had the competition, but not serving.
Well, the only thing, Third Wave was there,
right,
when they didn't have a distribution permit.
Right.
We're going to have on Sunday, Miss Pillion is coming Sunday. Saturday, they're up in Dover for their event, so they can't be here, but they'll be coming Sunday. Lazy Lizard, I think, is coming both days. They're outside of, or in Ocean City. And I think that's the only two breweries that will be there, but Del Mar United Home Brewers is coming, and they're going to serve some beers from the club both days.
Right, and that's what they were talking about. That I've been following the conversation somewhat. They have a Facebook conversation about it, and they just seem really excited to be able to serve their beers. They're bringing a jockey box. It seems like they're going to have a bunch of beers there.
So yeah, different club members have donated some beers. So.
Yeah, and it's. I was here at an event, the Big Brag, in June of this year. And people brought some, and they had stuff that they'd like laid up for the occasion. And it's really nice. It's really nice it makes me a little jealous. I mean, to think that these guys really can just drink like this anytime they want. They make this stuff, and some of them take it very, very seriously and are very, very good at it.
Well, you're getting as good as commercial, if not better. So
easily better than many commercial beers. And speaking of possibly better or maybe worse, and we don't care, than commercial beers, we found out for sure that, good news and bad news. So I have a book. I don't know if I mentioned it, but my book will be out. No, it's true. Yeah, no, very exciting. And so it'll be out on November 11th, and we're going to have a launch party in Cambridge. You are invited. I can't tell you where yet because it's not confirmed. But it'll be in Cambridge, and it'll be on November 11th. And I had hoped to find like a colonial brewing recipe, and they're very, very difficult to find. Even George Washington's famous recipe it's more like a couple things he said. He didn't say like, 2 pounds of this kind of hops. He said, throw some hops in, throw some barley in, cook it up, make a beer. So I hope to get something to go on, but I wasn't able to get any of the colonial beers that I was looking for. However, Ed, who helps out here at Extreme Brewing and is quite an accomplished home brewer, has agreed to make some Wild Goose beers, which haven't been made in Maryland for almost a decade. I'm sorry, haven't been made on the Eastern Shore for a decade. They made a couple years ago, but it's not the same. And Doug was kind enough to donate to contribute, I guess, the grain. So we're going to have our own beer that we'll be serving for the launch, and I think that that's going to be a blast.
So yeah, great.
You said he was in here picking out the grains. Do you know what he's using? Did he talk to you at all about?
Other than the fact that I guess he's taking one slightly higher up, or the Snow Goose.
Right.
It's a version of a pale ale, except it's been enhanced with more grains. So that's all he basically told me. It was a typical English thing, he said.
Well, that's what's really fascinating about it, because so the guy who helped start Wild Goose, his name was Alan Pugsley, and he is an English guy. He came up in England. He worked for Peter Austin, who, if you're watching this, you probably know who Peter Austin was, but he was a hardcore brewer at the Real Ale Revival, not the one in Cambridge, interestingly enough, but the movement in Britain to get back to try and serve more authentic beers. And he came over, and he was one of the early guys, I guess, in the proponent. There you go, of craft brewing. And so the fact that it is in an English style is not surprising at all, because they're his beers. Actually, Snow Goose was one of the last beers he made there. And what he did was he tweaked the recipe of an already successful. He had an IPA. He took down the hops. He boosted up the number of grains, and added a dark grain to make it black. And the reviews, there are still reviews if you'd like to, if you are a member of Beer Advocate, or is it Real Beer? Ratebeer.com.
realbeer.com.
Either of those, there are descriptions and reviews of Snow Goose, and people always say it was even blacker than they thought it was. They always say it was very black, but it didn't taste very black. And I guess that would be the softening. That would be just. Now, is that what happens? You can add
probably some debittered black that was put in, and it doesn't add much flavor or bitterness to it, but it does add color to it, and in small amounts.
Right.
So it makes it look darker, but it really doesn't taste darker.
And it's just ingenious to me. So people are like, I like dark beers, and you want to just say, well, that actually doesn't taste like a dark beer, and that might actually. I guess now that might even confuse people to taste a beer that's that dark and not have it be.
Well, it's like your black IPAs now. Same thing. It tastes like an IPA. It looks,
right.
You think it's an IPA, but it's dark.
Right, and it looks like a stout or a porter, but it's an IPA. So we're really excited about that, and that's going to be a blast. So that's November 11th. Feel free to join us, or actually, I'm going to have a bunch of speaking engagements, because that's how freaking important I am now. So. We can we'll keep you up to date. We'll do that now. We'll add at the end of the show when Doug's teaching and when I'm speaking.
Your head doesn't look any bigger than
before. God, it is so hard not to just talk about nothing else with this.
You're proud of it.
I am.
You should be.
I am. So. And so that's where we stand with the book and with the brewing. So
you want to talk about books more?
No, it's okay. I would get started and not stop. One of the things, though, that I did want to talk about is it was reported today, this is breaking news on the internet here, that Stone Brewing has selected Richmond, Virginia as the, sorry about that, guys, selected Richmond, Virginia as the place for their new brewery.
Easily reachable on a day trip.
Yes. If you're from here,
it's about 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, it's right in your wheelhouse. I have several friends in Richmond, and I'm sure they're going to be excited.
Be a full day, but you can make it over and back, or go for the weekend.
And now, have you ever been to Stone in California? Did you say you were there? No,
I've never been there, unfortunately.
And now you won't have to go.
Right.
I wonder if they're going to have they said 2016, I think 2015 they'd like to start production, so about a year. And then start cranking stuff out in 2016. And you wonder if they're going, because if you don't know, Stone has like a farm, and they have this whole like, and I'm just wondering, I mean, Virginia's got land.
Right, you think they'd do the same thing.
Grow their own hops and grow their own
some grains maybe.
Grains and stuff like that. And what's really interesting about this, and this is kind of a fun fact, even though the West Coast has its name, and has for some time had this name for having these great hops, tobacco and hops grow the same way and are processed in the same way. So there are probably a couple of tobacco farms in Richmond or in the Richmond area.
Or were. They're on the decline because of the less smoking.
Right, and so it seems like an excellent opportunity for an enterprising farmer to say, hey, we're going to make Virginia-style George Washington hops or whatever, Jefferson, I guess, hops, whatever kind of things that they're making there. I
know Southern Maryland, they used to see lots and lots of tobacco farms. Now you don't see them much anymore.
But as the demand for hops increases, I mean, I don't want to get too excited about a beer economy, but it's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable to see where they're going to have, I guess, maybe fewer profits. You know, Philip Morris is certainly not going to make what it was making. But if these farmers can grow the hops, they can do very well. There's
and the grain too. And then if you got local breweries who are going to use that grain, then it keeps it all local.
Absolutely. And they've done that here. We've talked about it before, but they've had some success here with
Burley Oaks.
Burley has been doing. It's called local.
Yeah, they've been sending it off to get it malted, but they're talking about doing that here too.
Okay, so yes, I will talk about the book. All right, so in the late 1700s, the main problem for Maryland beer was they had good grain, they had good water, but they didn't have good maltsters, and they couldn't get a malting operation up and running here on the Eastern Shore, which is why beer never took off, and people just started having rum and wine and cider instead, because malting is a real process. And you know about malting.
It's a lengthy process. You have to. It's a week long to do a batch, basically.
Mm-hmm. And you have to know what you're doing. I mean, like, I can't do it in my basement. Actually,
you probably could do it
in my basement.
But the thing is, the air has to move to a certain degree to keep it from turning moldy, musty. I mean, because you got wet grain and it has to be turned a couple times a day, otherwise it gets stale.
Right. And
you don't want bad moldy,
because it can't
beer.
You end up feeding the pigs. Yeah.
Well, it's not going to make good beer.
And one of the things that, and I don't know how it turned out, I have to follow up with him, but Brooks, who's the farmer, they do a similar thing for corn, something. But there's a machine that does that, and he has one that's kind of like, he has this big blower that he can use on the grain, but he wasn't sure if it would work or not. And their concern was if it didn't work, then they would have to spend all day taking the barley all out of it by hand. that was the big gamble.
I would think they could blow it. I mean, to move it.
Yeah, it was some sort of drying fan that they have that they use for other grains.
Oh, okay, I got you now. Yes,
possibly
that may work. It depends upon what temperature it's going to be kept at. I know you can't get it too hot, or the enzymes are, there's a name for it, and I can't remember, but they become nullified, basically.
Oh, really? And so no sugar. Does that mean
well,
no sugar?
Anyway, if you get it too hot, the enzymes don't become active when you call mashing in. You have to add hot water to the crushed barley to get it about 150 degrees. The enzymes then change the starches into sugars.
Right.
That's what the brewers want.
So otherwise you just have starchy.
Right. And
if you make whiskey.
If you get the grains too hot during the drying process, then the enzymes aren't active. So it is gentle cooling.
And the other thing is you have to have massive amounts to make any kind of living out of it. Like if you wanted to do it for your own beer, a home brewer could be a home malt as well. But
And you
for
can do it right in a
Dogfish, we'd have to buy most of Delaware to get.
Yeah.
Right,
Homebrewer could do it in a 55-gallon drum very easily.
right.
So
And one of the other things I want to ask you about malts is corn malted in the same way, like for cream ales?
no, they're generally what they call them pre-gelatinized. We got stuff that's flaked. That's been somehow they run it through a roller mill, and it great heat when they smash it, and it softens it. For distilling, they generally cook it for 3 hours or 4 hours to do that process.
No, but is cream ale, isn't that made with corn?
Some corn, yes,
Oh,
but not. It's still mostly barley.
I thought that I misunderstood completely. I thought that
Cream ale just indicates it's a good, like cream of the crop.
Oh, I thought that it meant that it had corn in it.
No.
That was brewed with corn.
No.
That's embarrassing. Because, well, in Berlin, the early beers they made in Berlin were corn based.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought that they would have been cream ales. But I've been hoping that.
Genesee cream ale.
Right.
It's still barley based, but it probably does have some corn and or rice in it.
Very cool. The other thing I want to talk to you about, and this we didn't discuss before we started, so I'll start. And I was at an Italian festival a couple of weeks ago, and they had all these vendors there, and there are vendors who make do-it-yourself bourbon kits by selling charred oak
Okay, I know.
barrels. Have you seen anything
Yes.
like that? Does that really work, or is that some sort of scam?
No, if you can get a fresh bourbon barrel, they generally take the whiskey guys that make the whiskey, put their distillate in a barrel to let it age. And the main reason they do that is because most whiskeys here in the States are only single distilled, so they're kind of harsh.
Right.
And they need to let them age for a while. And they generally put them in a barrel and let them sit for a period. Could be 10 years to 15 years.
Right.
And they mellow over that time, and they pick up some of the flavors of that barrel. When they go to bottle it, that gets emptied, and then they'll take different batches and blend them together to get what flavors they want.
Right.
That barrel is washed out and then done something done. Yeah, something's done with it then. And you can buy them, and I've heard of people taking a gallon of hot water, put it in that barrel, slosh it around good, dump it out, and you've got probably 45 to 50 proof whiskey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just the water.
Just the water itself.
That is fun.
It pulls
all the alcohol out of it.
Right, the hot water pulls it out of the oak barrel.
Well, what these guys do is these are brand new barrels that they char by hand, and they're little.
Okay.
And this is what the man says. He said, if you got a bottle of Everclear, since distilling is illegal, if you got a bottle of distilling,
put it in the barrel,
and you put the bottle in this barrel, 6 months.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Really?
Because the barrels are smaller, hold less, so the surface area to the amount of alcohol that's in there is less alcohol in comparison to what you would have in a 50-gallon barrel.
Right.
So the surface area exposed to the alcohol is greater, so it imparts that flavor. And there's a discussion going on with trying to legalize smaller. Well, not that. The big guys, the guys who do it commercially. There's a lot of new guys who want to be able to put it in small barrels, and after 3 years, call it bourbon or one of the trade names.
Right.
I think mainly it is bourbon, but all the big guys who got these big barrels all invested for 10 or 15 years, they're all against it.
Yeah.
I can understand why. You got some newcomer come in and says, okay, after 3 years, I'm starting to sell my bourbon, where Jack Daniels or Wild Turkey, they've got their green, which I think is 8 or 9 years, and they've got their black, at least I know with Jack Daniels, it's 12 years or 14 years. So they've got a lot of time invested.
And they have to. They can't just turn on a dime and start So that'd be interesting to see. But I might buy one then. I was toying with the idea just to see. You said you get about 10 uses out of it, or 10 years. I forget which. But,
Probably 10 uses, I would think.
Um,
But each use may be a little longer because you have less of the tannins in there
And-
to pull out.
and also, so if I put Everclear in there, Everclear is going to go in at something like whatever it is,
180, 190 proof.
and it's going to come out in the 50s.
No, it's going to come out and you're going to lose some through evaporation. I don't know what that angel share is that
Right.
you lose. But you do lose some, but you're going to get out. Say you put 10 bottles in, you maybe get. And it's
No, but if I
six
put in,
months,
but if I put in 180 proof,
it's still going to.
is it going to lose like?
No, it's not going to lose anything. It may gain some because you're losing through evaporation, but you're going to lose some volume of that. And generally, you need to soak the barrel anyway beforehand with water. Then you put the whiskey in, and then when it comes out, then you would cut it with water down to whatever percentage you want.
And is that what the whiskey makers do?
Yeah.
Oh, so like if I broke in, not that I would, but if I broke into Jack Daniel's and opened up a cask, it would be 180 proof Jack Daniel's.
Yes, I understand that.
That's crazy.
But then they cut it down to 80 some proof.
Because I don't know what would happen to my liver.
And it's probably, I don't think theirs is as high as what Everclear is.
Right, because Everclear is trying to pump
Right.
it up, but if
They're-
you're a regular distiller,
It may only be 120 or 130 proof.
so it's not so much.
But then they still had to cut that down, and then they have to blend it to get their true whatever taste that they've. Because I mean, it's different barrels can give you different tastes.
Yeah, it's funny. I was standing there, and my wife came up behind me, and the sales guy's like, "Okay, you don't say anything." and he pitched my wife. He's like, "You screw it up. I'll take care of this." And he had a woman there with him, and they were both saying, "How? Hey, no, it's nice, but she's afraid." And really, who can blame her? But I think it'd be cool to make my own whiskey, because one of the things I think we talked about was that the downside to trying to make your own whiskey at home is if you wanted to make good whiskey, it would really take like 12 years.
Yeah. But you could also do the same thing. We have wood chips. You can try just. You could take one bottle and put it on wood chips and see if that's. We've got American or French wood chips, and see how it comes out.
I wonder. That would be interesting.
And I think it would be even less. You'd probably get 2 months, 3 months.
Right.
Because you have a larger surface area.
Right. And the
you
larger
put it in a bottle, and you wouldn't lose any through evaporation either.
Right. So that's because it's always you wouldn't even have to shake it, but just because
It's sitting in a quart jar.
Right. It's gonna turn. So that's fascinating. Yeah. So I'm sorry to get off on that, but I just thought it just blew my mind. They had these little
beer with strangers.
Yes. Well, we're gonna have to just kind of dial it back. But of course, I mean,
but it's still all alcohol.
It is still all alcohol, and it is stuff that we
don't know if you knew or not, but all distillers are actually brewers. They have to have a brewer's license in order because they make beer. It's beer before it's distilled.
Oh, that's very cool. So and it's kind of like being a bus driver. Like if you drive a 16-wheeler, you can also drive a bus.
Yes, same thing.
That's very cool. And if you are interested in getting into distilling your own essential oils, that's something that you guys do here.
Yes, we've got stills for essential oils and water.
Right, because if you don't want to spend a buck on if you don't want to spend a buck on a gallon of what's it called? What's the water? Distilled water, right? Yeah,
distilled water.
Yeah. So if you don't want to spend a buck on a gallon of distilled water, come here and you can get a machine and do it at home, and that way you know it was well taken care of for your cigar. I mean, as long as we're getting into vices, you need distilled water for your humidors, for your cigar collection. So.
And to filter batteries.
So there's lots of good reasons to start distilling stuff. And if you also got one of these barrel things, that'd be awesome. But keep your eye out for those guys. If you see them around, they go to. I would tell you their names, but I don't remember it. And I think my wife hit the card from me. But they go around and they do these
festivals.
And they do these festivals, and it's God bless them. Good for them. And last but not least. Doug was teaching me a little bit about Craftworks without knowing it. And Craftworks is huge company, it looks like, that has a bunch of smaller chain-ish but high-end chain restaurants. And these include Old Chicago Pizza and Tap Room, Gordon Biersch Brewery Restaurant, and Rock Bottom Restaurant Brewery. I actually never heard of any of these, but Doug has heard of all of them. So
No, not the Old Chicago, but Gordon Biersch I've heard of, and Rock Bottom I've been in 2 of them that I know of, but it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go out to Dallas occasionally, and there's one there that went to a few times, and they had good beer and good food, so it was a nice, pleasant.
Well,
but I think they're all about the same. You go to one Rock Bottom, and it's like you've been to
them all. Yeah.
And here, there used to be one in Rockville, and I don't know if it's still there or not. That was 10 years ago.
And that's the careful what you ask for kind of aspect of this. It's like it can be, I mean, consistency is important, right? For beer. And so I didn't realize that these were older companies, and it made me a little nervous that this was going to be kind of like a rising thing. But it looks like these guys are making their own beers in their own places.
Right.
These are actual brew pubs.
Right.
But they're not marketing them out and about.
No, not that I know of. They've not gone to distribution. I think you can get growlers there, but most of it is just sale on premise.
It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Then it feels like a little.
But the food was good from what I remember. I think the earliest I was to one was sometime in the mid '90s, '95, '96 probably.
Wow.
I know. First time I think I went to Rock Bottom was I think '96.
Wow,
they've been around a while.
Yeah, I'm going now. I'm curious. I'm going to look into seeing how whether they were consolidated, because the reason that I brought it up was because the guy who used to run Dunkin' Donuts is now running the company. And so when you think Dunkin' Donuts, you don't think beer. And I have friends, my father, my sister-in-law. I know lots of people. I don't know how you feel about Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but there are people who really, really like Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I'm not one of them. I've never liked it, and so I don't think they can brew coffee properly. So if they were getting into the beer business, that would have made me nervous. But the fact that they're taking over one, that makes it a little different.
We got into, just talking about coffee, we got into drinking, I guess gourmet coffees are some of the Rise Up coffee.
I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah, really, really good. And we went to Florida one time after having coffee at home, good coffee at home frequently, stopped at Waffle House and after that, and everything comes close to Starbucks, and there were not that many Starbucks along 95 going to Florida.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's hard finding good coffee.
I give my parents a hard time because they have a Keurig, and I like to boil the water. I'm kind of a coffee snob. I grind the beans for that pot. I boil the water. I make the coffee. Yeah. And we don't even buy very good coffee because we drink a lot of it, and it can get expensive to buy very good coffee. We buy like mid-range coffee bulk, but by preparing it properly. And I talked to Noah at Rise Up about it.
Okay.
He's like, if you get the water good and hot, that's gonna
make better coffee.
It's gonna make better coffee, and that's the trouble with a lot of times the electric brews is they're not extracting enough of the flavor from the coffee. So anyway, my parents have this Keurig, and whenever I go there, they're always like, "We got you this one." I'm like, "It doesn't matter. I appreciate it, and I really do, but it doesn't matter because it's not gonna get hot enough." And I drink, but I'll drink 6 cups of coffee in the morning, and when I'm in New Jersey, I'll have a cup of coffee, and then we come home, and that's the first thing. It's like, I can't wait till tomorrow morning. We're gonna have some good coffee for a change. So.
But the Dunkin' Donuts exec, at his level, it probably is just another big corporation, and he's, I guess, mostly the numbers guy,
and so HR,
So if it's the higher level, it doesn't matter whether it's one company or they're all food companies.
Exactly.
So
they don't know the difference. Yeah. It's a restaurant chain.
Right.
I run restaurant chains. So good luck to them. God bless them. I just didn't know. But we did, as long as we mentioned it, we may as well plug that you do coffee here as well.
Yes, we've got Rise Up Coffee, and we've got one that's coming at the point that is in Rehoboth. And what intrigued us about them, other than the fact that they're another local roastery, is they have a hopped coffee. They worked with 16 Mile Brewery to, over a number of months to come up with a good blend of hops, or I don't even know if it's a blend, but come up with a good hop that they could soak the beans and then roast it, and it tastes pretty good, a hopped coffee.
Oh, that's cool. And because I guess the oils, is that what makes it?
I think, yeah, it just absorbs the flavors.
Oh, it absorbs the flavors?
But they say it takes a while. And I don't know the process. I assume they're soaking them with, I guess, water.
Yeah, because they come green. The coffee beans come green. So
but I'm assuming they soak it with the water infused with the.
So like a coffee Randall.
Right.
And on that note, actually, Berlin Coffee House always got their coffee from there, and that was always good coffee.
Okay.
When I was working in Berlin, they would go up and they would get special blends, and it's like anything else, like any artisan food preparation. It takes time and effort and skill. You know, it's a skill that not everybody has. Although I know that a lot of home brewers also get into, like, I roast my own coffee, I make my own mead, I bake my own bread. Roasting coffee is a bridge too far. Yeah, that's a bridge too far for me. It's a bridge too far. Anyway. And that is going to do us for this week. We have classes coming up October 25th here.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember what it is, but I think it's a beer class, I believe, but have to check the website for sure. If you're interested, email us or call us. We'll put you on the list. Another thing, they're all our free classes. Everything we do is, otherwise we're limited on space. Although we have more space than what we used to, we still are limited on space. So we just ask you to show up if you've signed up, please.
And you can find that at extremebrewing.com under everything else. Also information about us here at beerwithstrangers.com or at stateofthebeer.com, which is the main site for the podcasting, blogging, and generally me talking about how awesome it is that I have a book coming out. I wonder, I'd like to get to my 4th book, and I wonder if I'm really going to still be this obnoxious at book number 4.
Well, you should be proud. I mean, it's a lot of hard work doing what you're doing. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But hope to see everybody at Good Beer Festival.
Come visit us. We're in the back left-hand corner is the best way to put it. You come in, walk past all the beer, and all right, don't walk past all the beer, but just keep moving. Yeah. Keep your feet moving toward the far stage, and they'll be on the left.
But we'll be on the left. See the speakers of there's going to be, I think, 12 throughout the 2 days, but they got a lot of good topics. So come listen to the speakers. And these are all local brewers who are going to be there talking about their beers, and there's going to be a beer pairing talk, different important things about their beers. Cider beers, talk about grains. So a lot of good topics. And homebrews, and last year they had like 150 different beers, and I got through a bunch of them. And last but not least, I'll also be there filming for Pack 14 and for the county's website on the Good Beer Fest. So stop by and say hello to me. I'm trying to come up with a phrase to have people say. And you're taping all the and I'll be taping, yes, and I'll be taping all the speakers, and you can find all of that on stateofthebeer.com. And you can find, but if you want to reach out and say hello, we're going to have people saying, like, I drink good beer, or here's the good beer. I haven't decided what we're going to have people say yet. But come on, get on camera. We'll do some vines. We'll do all sorts of fun stuff. So we will see you this week. Other than that, it's time at the bar. Thanks, Tony. All right. We'll see you next week if we don't see you Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at Pemberton Park.